Go ahead.
My name's Ron Teska, and for about 40 years, I've lived in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania, right on the West Virginia border in Marshall County, Cameron, West Virginia. And just recently, we were basically run out of our home where, for generations, folks lived like rich people with no money. Everybody's income was $10,000 to $15,000 a year, wanted for nothing. We raised our own pigs, our own sheep, our own goats. We had blueberry patch, and everybody's home was moderate in terms of cost and price. And we, at present, our spring disappeared when the coal company plugged a gas well so they can take the coal. A spring that I developed by hand and dug a 3,000-gallon tank by hand, carried the sand and the cement up and made a tank, run it to the blueberries, and was starting to run it to the house, and when it disappeared. And the coal company refused to pay us for any of it or replace the water because we didn't have it run into the house like the law stated. So after a couple years of fighting, they finally decided that, okay, it falls within our obligation to compensate you. They gave us $5,000 for it. Our well has methane in it now because of the EQT Corporation that we had to go to court against for 5 years.
What was that corporation doing?
EQT. They had a shallow gas well on our property, and they were plugging it because they were going after the Marcellus, the fracking deep gas.
Shale?
It's the shale gas. And it's a long story, so I'll just make it real quick. Their lease was held by production, which means if they weren't producing, the lease is invalid. They haven't produced in 6 years, but the courts and the judges, they made up laws, and they did not have to pay any fines, penalties. They're sleeping with DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, which I call Don't Expect Protection. And so basically we lost our water. Our dirt road in front of the house with grass growing down the middle and 2 cars a day is now about 20 feet gravel industrial road with tankers and equipment, workers, and all day and all night. At night it's as bright as day with the wells that are operating. It sounds like a jet airplane overhead. And every well is on top of a hill. Why? Because of all the toxic gases that come off of them. If they were in the bottoms, they'd explode. But those toxic gases are heavy, and they settle down into the hollows. The animals around my place disappeared. The birds I don't even hear. I don't hear a rustle of leaves. Rents went from $200 a month to $1,600 per worker. Families were kicking their own family out of rental units so they can rent the workers. Bale of straw went from $2 to $16 a bale because of the corporate credit card coming in, needing it for their right-of-ways, which they're destroying the contiguous forest for migration routes for animals. And now you have 100-foot swaths through all the forest with no concern at all for the life there or the people. Heroin came into the area very strong because of all the money that the workers have. I went to an auction where I walked there, and it was a 10-acre farm, maybe worth $30,000, $35,000 at most in that area. Beautiful area, but that's the way the price is. And there was a young couple with a baby in their arms, and I knew them, and their family lived all around there, and that's how for generations folks stayed together as families. And so they're waiting for the farm to come up for auction. Finally, the auctioneer starts the auction and starts it at $125,000, and the coal company raised their hand, auction over. That couple just drops. But that's how they're buying people out. They're paying $200,000, $300,000 for farmhouses for people who have never had that kind of money and don't know what to do. They think they're millionaires. They'll get $200,000, $250,000 for their what was the value of a $40,000 farmhouse. They'll buy a $65,000 Dodge pickup truck. They'll go to Vegas. They'll come back by the local tavern around the beer, and then they're homeless, or they're arrested because they didn't pay taxes on it, and they don't know. It's not their fault. They've never had to live like that. Or you have 75 and older year-old couples who've raised their families and they're gone, and they have beautiful old farmhouses that have a lot of character and a lot of history in them, and they get this money, they tear the farmhouse down, build a brand new 5-bedroom brick house when they're that old, just because they could, and but they're being taken advantage of. It's not really their fault when this happens, but it's ruined the area, and now the coal company, energy companies will buy all these houses so they can have them the land. And
also, they don't have to worry about the surface occupants anymore.
No,
they're gone.
They never did. Us hillbillies, quote, and them, quote, ragheads in the Middle East are treated the same, for the same reason, by the same companies. And it's incredible to see that's the impetus is increasing the bottom line at any cost. And we get, and the fact is, my wife and I, we own all the minerals under our property. I can sign a piece of paper today and have over $1 million, $2 million tomorrow. We won't sell out. We're hated by our neighbors because we stopped a fracking well from going in on a neighbor's property. And what really prompts us to not sell them, and what really prompts us to be so agitated and upset over it, is the fact that our biggest responsibility is to ensure that our grandkids and those yet to be born are living in as safe and healthy an environment as we had. And that by far is not happening. There's absolutely no concern. They want to bring back coal jobs. They want to bring back these oil, gas jobs, and it's not the workers, because we live in a capitalist society. You have to have a job, but it's the CEOs, the $1 million CEOs and their stockholders that could care less about the environment, the community, and the people. What they'll do, and what really kind of got me was I seen a sign on a highway, super highway near us, an interstate, by a corporation that said, "Please do not litter." So it's like in your face, the fact that they're concerned about littering while they're destroying the water tables. In our state, in the southern part of our state, there's mountaintop removal, which takes 4 men in a drag line, which is 22 stories high, and 10 Greyhound buses fit in its bucket to take down entire mountains to the tune of a quarter-mile road from New York to San Francisco, 1,500 miles of headwaters completely buried in the second oldest mountain range in the world, the Appalachians. Beautiful. It's gone. And the coal miners are convinced that the EPA and Obama have cost their coal jobs, and that they want the coal jobs back. And our current Donald Trump is meeting in West Virginia in a couple of weeks to talk about bringing the coal back. And I'm telling you right now, the coal companies, they're not going to get rid of that.
You said that this was already going on, so that was going on during Obama's administration.
Yeah, well, they passed on the blame to Obama because he was ensuring that the EPA would regulate the coal-fired power plant emissions. And if you ask me, if you have to, if it costs so much money and there's so much work to put a scrubber on a power plant so that your own grandkids could breathe easier, what's that tell you about the power plant itself?
We have the same problem in New Mexico, too, with Four Corners Generating Station and San Juan Generating Station.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they were shutting down the scrubbers during the wintertime.
And blaming the EPA for the loss of the jobs that's going to occur. And the reality is, if we utilize something that's called, common sense, we have these mountains that the only thing that grows on them is Monsanto's genetically modified Lespedeza. Grows on a rock. But these sites can be utilized for alternative energy, whether it be solar, wind, geothermal factories, and hire some of the 145,000 coal miners that are laid off. They're not going to be brought back into the traditional underground coal mining. That coal's gone, number one. And number two, the coal company that has 4 men in a drag line taking down mountains, making more money than the 200 coal miners that would mine under that, it's not going to change. And they're not going to start sending coal to the dilapidated steel mills. They're going to continue sending it to the highest overseas bidder, and it's all one big ruse. It's Benito Mussolini defined fascism as the coming together of the corporations and the state, and I can't see that it's any other way today. And so we had to move, and I lost it. I built every square inch. It was an 1830s log cabin. I restored the whole thing, added another cabin to it, a log barn, corn crib. Every square inch of it I built. I even planted bamboo so I can put bamboo on a ceiling. I carved all the window trim into faces, and it's gone. So now I feel like I'm waking up in a hotel every day. We're refugees. We're corporate refugees. And so are everyone else there. And the ones that made out with the money, they're not really living any better. My neighbors made $300,000 on her house. He gets a girlfriend. His wife finds out. She gets drunk, drives her car through people's fences, and burns her house down. That money helped them.
Oh, jeepers.
And
unintended consequences.
Yeah, and this is
agreed. Yeah.
But the energy companies, they don't accompany their big checks with any help in terms of you have to pay tax on it. Here's what you got to do. They just give it to them and they take over their land. And what they'll also do is, if you're not home, or if you're renting a property, or if it's vacant, they'll start and put a right of